Is movement just the shifting of pressure and volumes? Let's find out with a cross-step cult today. What is going on here? We have very obviously a little back step, a twist, and a kind of a squat situation. But let's break down the movements exactly. Precisely what are we doing? So let's step back just a bit, friends. So the first thing we're doing is we're taking a cross step back. You can see this back leg is externally rotating and reaching back just past the hip there, right? While this leg stays internally rotating and is now loading. This leg is carrying the brunt of the load in the body, which means we're side bent here, which means this is proper mechanics. As we bend down, we're going to go towards the bottom of the hip, building up even more tension into this hip, sinking down into the back hip, and then we're going to spin out of it. Is this a stretch? Is this an exercise? This is both. We're stepping back into a hard external range of motion there with this leg. This front leg is doing internal rotation. Most of the load you can tell is in this back hip. We are side bent. In other words, we're shifting our weight that way, which is where we want to go in a second. So the body is leading. The pressure and volume is shifting that way. And then he goes down and spins right up out of it. So let's walk it from the front. And this is going to be great, because it's a stretch for both sides. It's an exercise for both sides. Both legs are doing different things each time, learning to work harmoniously together so you can do it repetitiously. And you're going to hit a lot of things. I'll tell you what we're hitting here. So boom, right here, this is going to hit. You're going to start to feel this glute. You might even start to feel the groin in the front there. This is a great view right here. Let's go back just a second. Watch this. In this view, we've got this leg. This is why internal rotation is really important. People don't see this a lot with internal rotation. People like this external rotation thing. That's the glamorous one. Internal rotation is where there is a lot to be had in terms of health, joint health, movement. You'll see this guy creating torque, i.e. this leg is in internal rotation and his head has dropped right over. So his body, technically, his center of gravity is over this internally rotated leg perfectly. This is great mechanics, chiropractors, PTs. Side bending on this side. If you have side bending, you also want a high hip on that side, right? If this leg is an internal rotation on this side, then yes, you should have a high hip. You should have a lot of load. You should have side bending, and your head, your center of gravity, should be over that side. Of all those things go in a row. That is called late stance of gait. They're all congruent motions. His ankle is planted, it's great. Then you want to see the opposite thing happening on the opposite side. So his right foot is out here. That's not where his center of gravity is. This is an external rotation, or this is the low hip. He's open on this side, and this is ready to have some good movement to swing around. He looks like he's surfing there, which is wonderful. These are all the movements. Again, internal rotation. You can see the internal rotation loaded from there as well. His head, his inner ear, his center of gravity right there is falling wonderfully. Why do you keep going? Right over that foot. This is where we are creating all this torque through here. His center of gravity is going back through that glute. There's a little way through here, probably way more through this side. And then we take that torque and spin it back around to the front. Notice this is a lot of twisting through these hips. This is really what we want. We want the twisting through the hips and not primarily through the back. Once these hips drop below 90 degrees, as they seem to do each and every time. There's another one. This guy, this alignment is awesome. It looks twisted, but he's absolutely aligned. Each time we go past 90 degrees, this ensures that these hips are the primary movers. Think about the Thomas test, the orthopedic test to test if your hip flexors are tight. There's some capsular stuff in there too, we know. But you hold the other leg above 90 degrees to ensure that the lumbar spine, the low back, doesn't move. So every time these hips drop below this 90-degree level, that tells me that the majority of the work is happening in the butt, in this pelvic joint, in the femurs, the capsule, and that primarily you're not using your back for this. Of course, the back is moving, obviously, but I'm saying primarily it's the glutes. I love this exercise, this stretch. Get this stretch exercise done. If you could do 100 reps of these, Your hips would love you. Your feet would love you. This is strong feet. We're not going to go into that this time, how those work together. Enjoy the cross-step cult. Have a great day. Check out our Patreon, podcast, follow, like, share. I'm supposed to say that every time. I keep forgetting. I'm sorry.